Take it away, Jen and Colleen.
There we are. Hi, everyone.
Hey.
I have a new camera. Welcome to another episode of Detox Digest with Dr. Morse's Healing Herbs.
Whether you're a seasoned detox enthusiast, just starting your wellness journey, or anywhere in between, Detox Digest is your go-to resource for gathering the knowledge and tools to support your body's natural cleansing and healing processes using diet, herbs, and Dr. Morse's formulas. I'm Colleen Bingham.
And I'm Jennifer Billingham, also known as Jenn B. And so far this year, we've covered the urinary system, the immune and lymphatic systems, and the digestive system. For archived blogs and webinar recordings on those systems, you can visit our Body Systems blog tab under the Learn tab at drmorses.com. Today, we're going to continue our discussion on whole body detoxification with a deep dive into the endocrine system.
So grab your favorite herbal tea and let's begin. Stay tuned for a valuable conversation on the endocrine system, including hormone balance and the stress response and how to support this system for vibrant well-being. We're so happy you're all here.
Yes.
So, of course, we wouldn't be here today if it weren't for this man, Dr. Robert Morse, whose life's work it is to unlock the body's natural ability to heal by supporting its regenerative and detoxification processes. And we do really value your questions, and we try to get to as many of them as we can. So please use your little question mark in the talk bubble that you see on your screen. Click that to type in your question. And Stephanie and Kim will be here answering questions throughout the entire presentation. And if we have time at the end, we try to reserve 10 minutes for a Q&A. But now that Jen and I have joined forces on Detox Digest, we don't always have time. We have a lot to cover today. We'll do our best. So full house today. Thank you all for being here. And if you have any unanswered questions, you can always email them to info@dmhhc.com. All right. We always encourage you to stick around until the end. We have a discount code coming up for you, and we have a unique URL for our collections page where we have all the bundles that we're talking about today. So every protocol we'll be covering for the endocrine system, we've created a specific bundle for that protocol, and you can go to our website and click the bundle and get the discount. So definitely stay around till the end so you can get that code.
Yep, so on today's agenda, like Colleen said, we have a lot we're going to be covering, and we encourage you to stick around because chances are keep asking those questions, but you're probably going to get them answered while we are going through every slide. So we're going to really look at endocrine system anatomy and physiology, the glands, their hormones, their functions and cascades, and how it interacts with other body systems for detoxification. And we're going to tie all that together into protocols for your hormone health. And Colleen's going to have some herbs to review with you that are a part of the many Dr. Morse's endocrine system formulas. And then just a few additional therapeutics, some comments on food, of course, and endocrine disruptors, a couple of therapeutics, one being tapping, and then some little recipes for you as adaptogen treats. Adaptogen treats, not cheats, treats.
Oh yeah, that's worth staying around for too. Those adaptogens are yummy. Awesome. Well, let's dive in. So we always like to start with this moment of just what is the bigger picture, endocrine system and its role in the body. We're going to go into the anatomy and physiology in a moment, but first we really just kind of want to ground into the endocrine system and how important it is for whole body health and functionality. And the endocrine system is just this really interesting system, right? There's these glands that exist throughout the body, and they're communication glands. They're all sending hormone molecules throughout your blood. The blood is a really big part of the endocrine system. So these glands are secreting hormone molecules that are triggering processes like metabolism, growth and development, tissue function, sexual function, reproduction, sleep, and mood. Yet they oftentimes feel mysterious little secret agents, right? That are affecting sensations, thoughts, and processes without us really doing anything. And either they make you feel whole or they can really throw us off our center. And just on a global perspective, when we think about certain hormones, we think about cortisol, we think about oxytocin, we think about dopamine. These are all hormone molecules. And just think about how much these little teeny tiny microscopic molecules are affecting like all of humanity and society, all of our interactions with everyone every day. It's all kind of based on the signaling and the firing and the communication between these hormones within our body. So we have pheromones, right? And they play a role in human interactions and attraction. These chemical signals can influence mood, bonding, and even subconscious communication between individuals. You've got oxytocin, often referred to as the love hormone, playing a role in forming emotional bonds, trust, and social connections. Its release can be triggered by touch, hugs, and positive interactions. And of course, you've got cortisol, the stress hormone. We're going to be talking about that one a lot today. Just think for a moment about how that affects your daily experience, right? Just this one little stress hormone molecule. And hopefully by the end of today, you'll understand how it works a lot more. So of course, there's a few times in our lives where we could say our hormones are raging, right? Puberty, pregnancy, childbirth, menopause, andropause, to name a few. But otherwise, hormone communication signaling imbalances can be hard to determine. So sure, a blood panel can tell us a lot, but what could be causing this imbalance? And what about, nutrient deficiency? How well are you absorbing through your gut? We hope one of your biggest takeaways today is to realize that hormone rebalancing doesn't always start with a protocol targeting the endocrine glands. That's a big one. You'll want to ensure that your digestion and circulatory systems are properly absorbing and delivering the nutrients that your endocrine glands need to properly function.
Yeah, it really is a systemic thing, whether it's health, detoxification, no matter how we're really looking at it. And, this will tie back to Dr. Morse refers to the endocrine system as the bosses. This is a very bossy system. It basically directs other body systems in many ways, what to do. And, in previous webinars, we briefly talked about how, a few of these hormones are involved in various organ functions. So we're going to take some time today to really start connecting all of this, our endocrine system to other body systems and demonstrate just how much hormones and any imbalance, like Colleen was saying, can affect those functions. And this is a bit of a precursor to our webinar next month, which we'll talk about the nervous system. And you'll see as we continue through this webinar that even though these two systems, the endocrine and the nervous system, aren't directly connected, they are interacting constantly. They're linked by the hypothalamus in the brain.
Totally.
We're going to take a look at this shortly. So come along on this adventure, discover just how much your endocrine system does control, how much it influences, and just start putting pieces together. Like Colleen said, it won't be the definitive thing, but it will reveal some areas that you will need to add to your detoxification journey to get you that whole body health you're looking for.
Yep. Nice.
Yep.
All right. Well,
yeah.
Should we dive in?
Yeah, let's dive into the endocrine system, its glands and hormones, how they help the body function and affect how you operate every day, emotions included, like mine right before I started. Colleen might be to agree.
Oh, yeah.
So there is so much information packed into these slides. Certainly ask him and Stephanie if you have questions, but feel free to take screenshots as we go through this, revisit this webinar for sure, because there is a lot in here for you and it will help you on your detoxification journey, whether you're just starting out, in the middle of it, or getting ready to jump back in. All right. So shall we dive in, Colleen?
Yes, indeedy. Let's do it.
Okay. So I'll kick this off with a little, hopefully brief, endocrine gland summary here. We have the hypothalamus. We're going to start with that as the command center. It's a region of the brain. I can't talk today. Maybe mine's not operating right. That regulates the release of hormones from the pituitary gland. And it does play a central role in regulating various physiological functions, including your temperature control, hunger, thirst, your sleep-wake cycles, and even some emotions. It communicates with different regions, brain regions, and controls the autonomic nervous system. Remember, autonomic means like automatic. It's your involuntary body functions like your heart rate, digestion, breathing. And this all interacts with other glands like the adrenals and the thyroid to maintain that balance, that homeostasis in the body. So it does control that feedback loop, whether to release or inhibit hormones. And then from that command center, you look at the pituitary. That's the conductor. That's your boss, your master gland. It has that central role in regulating and controlling various endocrine glands through the body, including the hypothyroid gland, the adrenals. We have the ovaries in females and the testes in males. Got a lot more of these points we're going to be getting to in later slides. Have the pineal gland, your third eye. Just it's called that because of the location in the brain. Also regulates circadian rhythms and sleep-wake cycles, produces melatonin, which is also a part of sleep-wake cycles. You have the thymus situated behind the sternum. My microphone's probably hiding that. So the thymus gland plays a role in the development of the immune system, particularly during childhood. Go back to the lymph webinar if you want to recover the thymus again. And then we have the thyroid gland found in the neck. The thyroid produces hormones that regulate metabolism and your energy levels. And then parathyroid glands. They're small glands located at the back of the thyroid. They help control calcium levels in the body. And your adrenals, you know those guys. They're on the kidneys in the back, sit right on top, and they produce hormones such as cortisol and adrenaline. They're involved in stress response. Colleen's really going to get into that. They also produce norepinephrine and DEHA. They're all precursors to both male and female sex hormones. And almost done, y'all. Got the pancreas. Remember that guy from the digestive system as the exocrine gland? Well, this is the endocrine portion that produce hormones like insulin, glucagon, that helps regulate blood sugar levels. And then we have the ovaries in females and the testes in the males. These produce the sex hormones, including progesterone, estrogen, testosterone, and that plays a crucial role in reproduction and development. And we have on the next slide, this is one you might want to take a screenshot of.
Them like y'all don't know where testes and ovaries are. I think we all know where those are.
I hope so. Now, over 50 hormones have been identified in the human body, so take a good shot at this and come back and revisit it. Imbalances in these glands, especially associated with some of these very common hormones, whether it's overstimulated or hypoactive, can have effect on the hormone levels and functions within the body. And you can use some of this as a guide. Again, like Colleen said, don't use it as that definitive, only address the endocrine. Recognize how, and we'll show you in protocols how these actually interact with other body systems and how you might need to consider developing your protocol further. And like I mentioned before too, like Colleen's going to review the fight or flight response, and this is her specialty, so I'll let you dive right in.
I don't know about that. Thank you, Jen. Yeah, so the fight or flight response, this is a really interesting interaction between our nervous system and our endocrine system, right? So we have to do a little bit of nervous system physiology right now, or at least categorizing, and we'll go way more into this next month. But I just wanted you to know that, as Jen was already saying, you have your peripheral nervous system and you have your central nervous system, the pituitary, hypothalamus, those are all in the brain and the central nervous system and embedded in the brain, of course. And then you have the peripheral nervous system, which is kind of the periphery, all the nervous system that runs throughout the body. And of that peripheral nervous system, you have the autonomic, which Jen was just talking about. That's everything that happens automatically, right? And then you have the somatic. These are the muscle movements that you guide. And so we're really going to hang out here in the autonomic nervous system to discuss fight or flight. You've got both the sympathetic and the parasympathetic branches of the autonomic nervous system. Okay, hope you're still with me. And we're right here. So sympathetic nervous system, that is your flight or fight response. Okay, and then you've got your parasympathetic nervous system, that is your rest and digest. So in a perfect world, you are in this nice healthy balance, this gentle swing back and forth from fight or flight, rest and digest. They're both totally normal. And we're going to go into the physiology of hormone signaling that happens with the fight or flight response. Okay, so basically there's two different endocrine glands that perceive the threat simultaneously. So right here we have a woman running away from a bear. That obviously would be a very strong fight or flight response moment. Whereas some people, I mean, just the other day I was getting out of my car and my neighbor was like creepily out of nowhere was like, "Hey, Colleen," and I just jumped, out of my skin. So I have a high, trigger point for my fight or flight response because I have a lot of chronic stress. So anyway, we'll get more into that in a moment. So let's take a look at what happens when you have this moment of fight or flight. You have an instantaneous moment where it's actually happening right and on the adrenal gland. The fastest felt response to the stressor starts with the sympathetic nervous system, and it directly stimulates the adrenal medulla right here in the middle of the adrenal gland to release adrenaline and noradrenaline or norepinephrine, probably heard of it. And this response is almost immediate, happening within seconds, and it prepares the body to react to the perceived threat swiftly. So it makes sense, right? Your brain is receiving the other signal. So one signal is just immediately triggering the kidney from the sympathetic nervous system. It's just zing, zapping those adrenal glands to release this adrenaline so that you can move, right? So you can run, so you can start running, moving your body before you even think about it. Okay, so that's why it's fastest. Then simultaneously, you have a kind of a more long-term effect that's happening when you experience a stressor. You have the HPA axis. If this is your first time hearing about this, get ready because I think it's the coolest. You've got, and this is the first time I ever heard of a hormone cascade, okay? And I just love that terminology. This is essentially one endocrine gland to another, just hormones cascading like a waterfall from the hypothalamus to the pituitary. That starts with CRH. Corticotropin releasing hormone is released from the hypothalamus when it perceives the stressor to the pituitary gland, and that cascade tells the pituitary gland to produce adrenocorticotropic hormone, ACTH, and that travels to the adrenal cortex, prompting the release of cortisol. Okay, you've also probably heard about that one. It's a well-known stress hormone. So that HPA axis takes a little bit longer than the kind of instant flight or fight response that you have, like for your either your fists to go up or for you to start to flee. And so what's fascinating is that this response lasts longer because now you've got a bunch of hormones coursing through your blood, and those hormones take a while to metabolize and leave the body. Okay, so I feel like these slides somehow got a little bit out of order. I'm going to actually go to this one next. Okay, so this is what we're getting to with the fight or flight response. You've got the physiological changes that are the result of adrenaline being in the blood. You've got blood vessels constricting to prioritize blood flow to essential organs like the heart and muscles. The eyes dilate, the pulse and breath quicken, and you have increased perspiration. Now, here is the really, really important part. When you are in an acute fight or flight response, and when you have all those hormones coursing through your blood, you are suppressing other very important body systems. The digestive system digestion is slowed down temporarily halted to conserve energy for immediate stress response to get you out of your dangerous situation. You've got the immune system, which the immune functioning can be reduced as resources are redirected towards addressing the immediate threat. You've got the reproductive system, so non-essential reproductive functions are temporarily suppressed, and then the urinary system as well. So you kind of see where we're going with this. And then for coming back down, as far as the feedback loop of this hormone cascade, it takes a while for the hypothalamus to register that, okay, we have enough stress hormone running through the blood. We can stop doing this cascade. We can turn this off now. So not only does it take a while for that feedback loop to turn off the spigot, but also it takes several hours for the stress hormones like adrenaline and cortisol to be metabolized, broken down, and eliminated from the bloodstream. So if we want to put all this together, when cortisol is pumping through the blood, the immune and digestive systems are suppressed, the heart speeds up, and the bladder constricts. And imagine what that looks like for someone who's constantly triggering their fight or flight response. So so things like immune sufficiency, digestive distress, urinary imbalances, and reproductive imbalances could all be signs that point to nervous system overwhelm or chronic fight or flight. So imagine it takes several hours for that hormone to be removed from the blood, and then maybe if you're sensitive enough, you've already re-triggered a new fight or flight response, right? So you're just starting the whole process all over again. But don't get stressed out. We're going to help you get through it.
The way we're going through this, we're stressing everybody out. Okay. All right.
We'll give you some solutions.
Yep. So yeah, thyroid, this is, besides the adrenals, this is another gland that we get a lot of questions about. So we're going to try to help you understand what's going on when you have something an overactive or an underactive, thyroid response. So take a look at this slide, but what I want to talk about is that the thyroid makes 3 hormones, T3, T4, and calcitonin, but we're going to focus on T3 and T4. T4 is thyroxine. That's pretty much the storage form of the thyroid hormone, and that converts into active T3, and T3 is triiodothyronine. And we get questions about iodine as well with thyroid weakness, and iodine is important and used to make thyroid hormones in that synthesis and making it active. But it's important to remember that we get our iodine from foods, and this is where, again, Colleen mentioned, you want to make sure other body systems are doing well and absorbing from iodine from, say, pineapple, strawberries, some beans like green beans, seaweeds like kelp. Sometimes, some of you have probably had a protocol long ago from Dr. Morse when he was seeing people that he would include kelp in the protocol. That's not uncommon. It's very beneficial for iodine if it's particularly weak without supplementing with it. And the pituitary directs the thyroid gland if it should produce more or less hormones. This is why we bring in the pituitary when we're looking at thyroid issues. There are T3 and T4 hormones attached to specific proteins in the blood. Those are transport proteins. So it's in the blood. More hormones are needed by the body. These can be released into the blood, in a moment. And this is why, the endocrine system is designed to precisely react and release hormones when necessary. So you can see one little imbalance can throw a lot of things out of whack. So you'll also hear us talking, and I'll mention it too later in a protocol slide, but T3 and T4 increase the basal metabolic rate. That's important because that's the amount of energy the body needs for its most basic functions. And when T3 and T4 are released, it makes the body work a bit harder. More energy is needed. So you might observe a higher body temperature in those cases, your faster pulse, stronger heartbeat, just a more responsive reaction time. That's in its connection with the nervous system, because T4 dilates blood vessels. So you got too much T4, that will increase your basal temperature. And if there is too much, that could indicate a potential overactive issue. If that T4 is too low, this is why Colleen was mentioning blood levels, they are good indicators that something is off, but we need to look at other things and some of these symptoms. So if it's too low, then that may leave you feeling a bit cold. So just wanted to go over, some of that to help you dissect a little bit. If any of you have thyroid issues, what might be really going on? Not sure if that's ever been explained to you before. And so to put it all together, pretty much, let's look at where does TSH come from? Thyroid releasing hormone. It's TRH. That's a tropic hormone. It means that it indirectly affects cells by stimulating other endocrine glands first. And those TRH receptors bind to the anterior pituitary gland. Okay, and this is Colleen's term she loves. That starts the signal cascade that leads to the production of TSH. And this TSH, this is why it's looked at in your lab work, triggers the thyroid to produce T4 and T3. And this is going to sound a little weird, but keep this in mind, okay? That high TSH is a signal the thyroid isn't making enough thyroid hormone, hypo. If TSH is low, that's a signal that the thyroid is making too much. It is hyper. And, tying this in together with the thyroid and adrenals, that when you see, as you can look on the slide, an increased production of cortisol can inhibit that enzyme that's responsible for the conversion of T4 to T3. And T3 is really what is the active portion that our cells can use. All right, so when cortisol levels are high, it signals the thyroid to stop producing thyroid hormone. So that restriction can lead to some of those symptoms we don't really like. Fatigue, weight gain, cognitive impairment. That's just some of the stuff that over time you can begin to see, I guess, that cascade of symptoms just developing more and more.
Yeah, no, funny, not funny.
Funny, not funny. Yep.
Yeah.
All right. And then we've got, as far as reproductive system. So we have a gonadotropin releasing hormone that's secreted by the hypothalamus, and the pituitary produces LH and FSH, which are luteinizing hormone and follicle stimulating hormone. So LH is a chemical that your body produces that triggers important processes in your reproductive system, like it spurs ovulation. In females, helps with hormone production needed to support pregnancy. And FSH, follicle stimulating hormone, in women helps manage the menstrual cycle and stimulates the ovaries to produce eggs. And in men, it stimulates the production of sperm. So how does this tie into everything else as far as detoxification? Again, we have to look at it beyond, just the reproductive system itself and the endocrine system. How are we utilizing and balancing this out? So low luteinizing hormone levels can signify that your pituitary isn't making the LH needed to spur those changes in your body that support sexual development or reproduction. So when we talk about the nervous system more next month, talking about that sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response, that means the body, the energy the body systems, other body systems might need, can slow the reaction response of other body systems that it may need, most. So this is a real natural response. This chronic stress can impact other glands and organs all over the body, other body systems, especially like the reproductive system. So you can see how that chronic term, again, that chronic stress and that cascade of symptoms, geez, I'm trying to talk too fast to get through everything, that it can over time really affect your fertility. You can see women, I've talked with a lot of women that they see their menstrual cycle is disrupted. Even guys with, endurance problems or low energy, it can affect you guys too at any age, any season in life. So,
Yeah, that's right.
yeah. And this is a good one to
To
connect
kind of sum it
everything. This
up.
might be, yeah, to kind of, so if you want to take a screenshot, y'all, this is a good one too. And this list is not limited to what is shown on the screen, but just reviewing, the
So
impacts
true.
to your liver, especially prolonged stress, and to the digestive system, lymphatic system, the kidneys. So take a look at this and, really contemplate and use it to analyze your situation, assess where you are with your detoxification journey, or if you're just getting started, because you can probably mark a few of these things on your list that might need some attention, and it can help you consider what you need for the protocols we're going to present to you soon.
Awesome. All right. Well, that concludes the anatomy and physiology section of today's presentation. And so now we're going to talk about the herbal protocols and therapeutics and the formulas, all the good stuff. We're going to go on a little virtual herb walk. So let's talk about the primary herbs here. I love that Dr. Morse is all about the adaptogens. He throws adaptogens into so many of his formulas, and we're going to just talk about, because we've just thrown a lot at you, right? You've just had this whole kind of download on, okay, stress and how it affects the body, and feeling fight or flight and having chronic fight or flight, and how that can impact the suppression of some of my other body systems. So what do I do with this information, right? Like, it's hard for people sometimes to reduce their stress load, right? We live in a fast-paced society. We have a lot that we're taking care of every day. I mean, parents, if you've got children, it's add 10 times more stress into your life. And so, yes, it's not something you can just change overnight. You can find practices like breathing moments during transitions where you can just try to take a beat, but also you can have your herbal formulas contain herbs that are actually really good at supporting a healthy stress response. We're going to talk about this more later, but stress is totally normal. Obviously, we've always been stressed out in our culture and in humanity, right? As we've been kind of evolving to become what we are today. Yeah, we have modern stressors, but imagine what it was like to not have shelter, to not have food, to not know where your next food source was coming from, to have to go through severe winters and only have fire to keep you alive. So yeah, it's always been pretty stressful to be a human, to say the least. So let's talk about these adaptogens and why we've been digging them up and eating them for, millennium. Um, So the term adaptogen was coined by the late 1940s, in the late 1940s by Soviet scientist Nikolai V. Lazarev, and it was at the dawn of the Cold War. So it was the former USSR assigned. So what they did was they assigned the Soviet Academy of Sciences to develop a product that increased the performance of their athletes, military personnel, political officers, and chess players while adhering to strict health guidelines. I got all this from a great book called Adaptogens by Winston and Mames, if you're interested. Okay, so 1968, Lazarev, his colleague, actually Breckman, defined that adaptogens are these three things. They need to be safe and non-toxic. They need to boost the body's ability to cope with different types of stress, including physical, chemical, and biological stressors. And adaptogens help bring balance to the body's functions, normalizing physiology even when affected by stress. So let's look at this from a chemical perspective. So our cells are actually designed to experience stress. As I said, it's pretty stressful to, survive. Fight or flight is from a time where we were literally being chased by bears and tigers. So, or we were chasing down other things that we needed to eat. So hormesis is a phenomenon where exposure to low levels of stressors stimulates cells to enhance their resilience and adaptability, resulting in improved overall health and function. So hormesis is a cellular function that we already have innately in our body. And studies are showing that specific phytochemicals in our adaptogens, like, I don't know why I put these words in here. just to make it interesting for myself. Saladroside and Rosavan from rhodiola and withanolides from ashwagandha and lignans from schizandra. They all seem to support the cell resistance or hormesis. So adaptogen phytochemicals can support these same restorative pathways. Isn't that fascinating? So believe it or not, adaptogens are actually stressing you out very mildly. What they have is this phytochemistry that kind of, it's like push-ups for your cells. It's a little bit irritating. They have a lot of saponins in them too, these irritating molecules that I love to talk about that trigger a response in the body. And so they exert a mild stress on the cell, which is not harmful, but rather contributes to improved cellular resilience by supporting the production of protective molecules, such as heat shock proteins and antioxidants. This concept aligns with the hormetic principle that exposure to low levels of stressors can promote adaptive and protective responses within the body. So if you're not, if you weren't convinced before, now maybe you'll be interested in trying some adaptogens. And that was just kind of a general overview of adaptogens because they're going to be in all of these protocols. So we'll be meeting a bunch of them right now, and Jenn's going to talk about a general maintenance protocol.
Yep. And that's a good way to emphasize that, you're strengthening your cells over time, because nature pretty much eliminates the weak. That's our whole, foundation is regeneration, not just cleaning. So, yeah, just building that resilience, that endurance for sure. And, to segue into this a little bit with general maintenance, whether, if you're not really addressing a underactive or overactive situation, you're looking to, maybe you're just getting started and you want to assess where you need to be, or you're in between protocols that either myself, Colleen, or another detoxification specialist have written for you, take a look at this one that follows, because, again, we talked about how your hormones affect every aspect of your everyday life, even especially how you sleep, your sex drive, blood pressure, blood sugar. I know those are very important. So really getting a routine down for your body and adapting and giving yourself that chance for hormone balance just improves your overall health and, your other body systems as well. So what would a general maintenance protocol for hormone endocrine balance look like for like a month or two until you really evaluate what you want to, the next step you want to go with? And we always go to the GI daily, kidney and bladder daily, and lymph drainage daily because they're excellent supports for these body systems. But for that endocrine support, we're going to look at the endocrine daily because it does aid the body in restoring that hormonal imbalance and really supports all of its functions. And male or female, you can select either formula. Again, if you're not really experiencing any particular issue, this is just general. Females, if you're pregnant, don't take the female, but this nourishes and tones the tissues of either the female or the male reproductive system, really supports those healthy hormone levels. Remember the gonadotropin and all of that slide, and the pituitary, your master gland. So you're supporting that detoxification and regeneration of that pituitary gland, just really supporting that guy or gal, however you want to see it, in its overall function and directing. It's your control center, really, not the command center. It's just that conductor, like we said. So this is a good way to just round out a protocol at the beginning to get you started. And then we are going to build from there, depending on maybe your area of weakness.
Yeah, and as you can see, as we talked about at the beginning of the webinar, it's just we're adding in the GI, the kidney, bladder, and the lymph formulas because oftentimes it's that the nutrients just aren't making it to these glands. They aren't getting enough of what they need to function properly. So it's not so much like stimulate the gland. It's like, no, how's your digestion? How's your absorption? How is your circulation? We'll be adding some circulatory formulas to some of our protocols going forward. So yes, let's take a look at some of these herbs. Okay, Dr. Morse loves Hoshu Wu, which is also known as, it's actually HESHOUWU. I guess you could maybe write it either way. But so, yes, it's also called FOTI, FOTI. You can see that down there under indications right here. It's a traditional Chinese herb that is believed to be one of the most powerful extractors of earthbound qi. So that's that life force, that life vitality, right? Qi, that's what that means. So it makes it a potent herb that helps mobilize and invigorate qi that is stagnant, especially qi that is more materially tied down or lacking dynamism. So Hoshiwu, known for its rejuvenating and tonifying properties, is often used to nourish the liver and kidney, which in TCM are critical for the generation of proper qi flow and blood flow. And so as you can see, it's included in all these formulas, and I think that's actually just the short list because Dr. Morse loves this herb so much. Fascinating fact about Hoshiwu is that the root is harvested and then it is boiled with black beans to release its mechanism of action, and it also makes it more digestible. Yeah, so that is Hushu.
I'd rather say
And
Foti. That's easier.
Shizandra, yeah, Foti is easier. It's true. Um, so Shizandra, I think, has been in almost every single one of our webinars this year so far. It is an incredible adaptogen. It's called the five flavor berry. I think both of us are getting tongue-tied today, Jen.
Yeah.
So why is it called that? It has all five flavors. It has sour, bitter, sweet, and salty. And I think astringent is the last one that it has. And so that indicates that it's a really balanced herb. It's really good for all body types and all body systems. And it's just really tonifying. And one of the key phytochemicals in Schizandra is schizandrin, which belongs to a group of lignans. We talked about those lignans earlier, about how they are really good at triggering that hormesis response, right? Helping those cells develop a healthier stress response. So Schizandra is thought to interact with let's see, so helping us to adapt to various stressors and maintain balance. Schizandrin is also thought to interact with neurotransmitter systems in the brain. So this is pretty awesome, including GABA, which we all know is one that we really like supporting because it helps to support a calmer state of mind and improve stress management. It's rich in organic acids, including citric and malic acid, which support energy production and enhance physical endurance. And yeah, it's just a great one to take daily. You can take it as a tea, you can take it as a tincture, you can try it in one of our formulas. You can use the powder and add it to your smoothies. Just get Schizandra into your daily use. The other thing I didn't say about adaptogens is that they're tonic formulas. They can be taken every day. I like to always alternate between them. I don't always just stick to one, but definitely Schizandra is a great one to include in your daily intake. And then we have chased berry or vitex berry. If you live somewhere where this is grown, please go find it and smell it. It is such an interesting smell. The berries and the leaves. I have one in my backyard, and it's just, it kind of takes you to like the Spanish Isles or something. It's just it's a transportive sense for sure. So yeah, I love it. It reminds me of summer. It has a lot of really interesting phytochemistry. It has iridoids, diterpenes, flavonoids, which are well-known antioxidants and essential oils. Let's see. So Vitex's ability to modulate hormone levels makes it an adaptogen. It's not considered, it's kind of not in the first level of adaptogenic herbs, but I do believe that that's a big reason why Dr. Morse is using it in his formulas, and it's a reason why we love it. And it's also showing up not only in female reproductive tonic, but male reproductive tonic. It's very commonly used in Western herbalism as a female reproductive herb because it's really good at balancing estrogen and progesterone levels. And how is it doing this? So let's see. So the diterpenes in Vitex are thought to interact with dopaminergic receptors in the brain, which can indirectly regulate prolactin secretion from the pituitary gland. This regulation of prolactin is critical because high levels can suppress other hormone levels, including estrogen and progesterone. So it's traditionally used as a female reproductive tonic due to its regulatory support on hormone levels. But I just want to point out that males can have estrogen and progesterone as well. And so there's a general impact on health if estrogen imbalances. So estrogen imbalances in men can show up as hormonal, it can help with hormonal regulation to take chasteberry. It can help with cardiovascular health in males, and high estrogenic levels in men can be influenced by various factors ranging from lifestyle choices to medical conditions. So things like obesity and chronic alcohol consumption, certain medications, imbalances of the liver, exposure to estrogenic compounds. These can all be things that can throw male hormones out of balance. And so the idea here is to bring in something that will bring that back into balance and also can help in the long run with balancing testosterone levels as well. Okay, there we go. On to the next protocol.
Yeah. Yep, diving into the adrenals a little bit more once again.
Yay.
Get questions on the adrenals a lot because, you know, as you've heard Colleen review the fight or flight response, that perpetual arousal of that fight or flight response, it really takes a lot of impact, puts a lot of impact on the adrenal glands, the body, acutely and over time. And you can, on the screen, you can see, you can feel the effects of that sluggish adrenal gland function due to that reduction of hormone regulation and release, and, subsequent cascading body effects, other body effects. So you hear us talk about blood pressure a lot, feeling tired, feeling a little jittery or restless, those body aches, blood sugar abnormalities, because your adrenal glands do, along with the pancreas, have a role in maintaining some blood sugar regulation, and along with the liver, affecting how you sleep, your moods and irritability as well, and even impacts to your immune response. How would you know that your adrenals are functioning healthier? Well, your blood pressure would begin to regulate. You would have healthy circulation and blood flow. You'd have a much more responsive immune system, and you would feel more balanced with your sleep and wake routine. And, all seasons of life, whether you have a young one, or you're in the middle of life thriving, or you've got you're past menopause or older, you'll feel these different effects at different times. So how do you support your body at any season, any stage, to get you started? And then of course you can customize it depending on, your other weaknesses. So we'll start
Just
when we look at
wanted
the
to say that
protocol.
sluggish adrenal gland function, also AKA adrenal gland fatigue. So it's not so much that they've kind of burnt out, is really what we're
Yeah,
talking about here, right? From chronic stress. Yeah.
yeah, they've had enough, basically.
That's it. They throw their hands up, they're done.
Yeah, they're done. So
Not
yeah, what do
pretty.
you do when your adrenal response is just not where it needs to be? And vice
Mhm.
versa. If um, adrenal glands are overstimulated, obviously you want to, address this a little differently. But if we're addressing the sluggish, the fatigue portion here, kidney and bladder restore to really help. It's got that diuretic action. It's stimulating, it's moistening, helps with filtration, the
Mm.
lymph drainage daily. It's a more of a gentle lymph mover. But then you have that adrenal support component. Like as Colleen already described, it has those adaptogenic herbs that really target the adrenal gland, supports that healthy stress response. And then one that may not be considered often is the happy caps. These are excellent to support
Mhm.
not only the endocrine system, but the nervous system and vascular responses within the brain and the rest of the body, especially if you might notice that you're having trouble maybe sleeping, or even with your moods or irritability or whatnot. This one is a really good one to balance. And spasm calm, also very calming to the nervous system and the vascular system, and might help you relax a little bit, I would say.
Mhm. Yeah, it
I'm sure
will.
you have
I
something to
love
comment on
spasm
with the
calm.
herbs in it. Yeah.
I do. You know me, Jen. Yeah, I mean,
Yep.
normally we have this kind of lumped in with our musculoskeletal herbs and herbal protocols and formulas, but I love this formula for relaxation. Just so not only is it going to relax the musculoskeletal system, but it also has passion flower and skullcap and St. John's wort and valerian and catnip in it. So this could be a really good sleep formula, actually. And I like taking sleep tinctures before bed versus taking a tea, just because if you have a tendency to get up and go to the bathroom. So I do, yeah, getting healthy sleep is a part of a healthy stress response. And so definitely you could always try Spasm Calm for that, or check out some of those herbs individually. We won't be going into monographs on those, but they're really, really
Yeah.
wonderful nervous system herbs. We'll talk about some of them next month.
I like those on
Okay.
the spasm calm on my cycle, or for headaches too. If any females are out
Oh,
there
yeah,
listening and wanna
that's
go
right.
for it.
I would say that's why it was probably originally created, right? I mean, the first ingredient is cramp bark, so you can kind of
He had a
imagine what
multitude
that's
of
used for.
reasons. Yeah, because he already had that one in place when I came on, a little more than 10 years ago.
Oh,
So,
also, yeah, loose stool for sure. Yeah.
yep. Yep.
Okay, let's look at some of these herbs. So we're talking about the adrenal glands. So we're going to talk about more adaptogens because, again, like adrenal function and adaptogens is a match made in heaven, because these adaptogens are really helping with that healthy stress response. So we talked about how all that research was coming out of the Soviet Union back in the 1970s, and the herb that was the most heavily researched was eleuthero. And what this herb used to be called is Siberian ginseng, but it's not actually in the ginseng family. And so it had that name removed, and it's Eleutherococcus senticosus now. And it's just a really mild, wonderful herb. It is awakening. It helps you stay alert. It's really good for boosting energy, but it's not overly stimulating. And so basically by the end of, let's read this because this is really interesting. So let's see. It was heavily researched by Soviet scientists during the space era. In fact, by 1976, it was estimated that over 3 million people in Russia were using Eleuthero regularly, including Olympic athletes and astronauts. But it's also great for the young, the old, and everyone in between. So I just love Eleuthero. I think it's a really good go-to. I don't know of anyone saying that it's stimulating. So it can be kind of great as a midday pick you up. And again, adaptogens, they really work over time. So it's always good to just keep these rotating and flowing in the blood and in the body every day so that you really start. And it's a subtle shift, but you'll start to notice that you're like taking more deep breaths during times of transition and during stressful moments. It's really interesting. I can speak to volumes on how much I love adaptogens. We should do a whole webinar on adaptogens, honestly. Okay, so speaking of parasites, which we weren't, cordyceps. Cordyceps are fascinating. We actually use a vegan version of a cordyceps because traditionally this is a Tibetan mushroom, not an herb. It thrives from 3,000 to 5,000 meters above sea level in cold, grassy alpine meadows of Tibet in the autonomous region. And so what happens here is that the mycelium invades the caterpillar's body, filling its cavity, killing the insect, and eventually completely replacing the host tissue. And then it gets made into a formula and you take it for its adaptogenic support. It's considered one of the best adaptogens specifically for the kidneys. The kidneys are considered in TCM one of the most important organs, with broad responsibilities beyond their Western physiological functions of filtering blood and producing urine. So here they are pivotal in yin aspects, including the quality of cooling, moistening, and nourishing. So kidney yin is critical for sustaining the body's fluids and maintaining a sense of calm and relaxation. And this is actually a very balanced yin and yang herb. Did you see that in the monograph? It says that it supports deficient yin and yang. So that's kind of what I'm going into now. So not only is it moistening, cooling, and nourishing, which is all very yin, it also has all these great yang aspects. So it's warming as well. It has activity, transformation. It's good at generating heat and aiding in the function of metabolism and supporting overall vitality. And so again, we have it in Kidney Bladder Daily and Restore and Kidney Tea. And so that's showing up in this formula as the Restore, Kidney Bladder Restore for this protocol. And we use a vegan version. So now they're growing it on a vegan substrate where there is no caterpillar was harmed in the making of our cordyceps extract. And that actually came up in a recent webinar. Someone asked, but I'm vegan. That's a really good point. So,
yep.
All right, ashwagandha. So ashwagandha is incredible. And I inserted it here, and I'm not going to talk about it too much, even though it's considered the king of adaptogens, because there's like two categories of adaptogens, ones that are more kind of, hold on, I lost my cursor, kind of awakening and stimulating, and then some that are more calming and nutritive. And this is both. It plays in both fields. It's both non-stimulating and it also boosts physical endurance. And we don't have it currently for sale. And it's not going to be included in our discount because we sold out, but we are bringing it back in stock on June 28th. So keep an eye out for that. We'll give you an email when that's available for purchase. And yeah, we're really glad to be bringing it back.
Yes.
Most popular adaptogen on earth right now, I would say. Yep. And I love it in sleep formulas. Okay, I'll stop talking about that. So those are our herbs for healthy adrenal function.
All right, yeah, now we get to dive right into the thyroids and the parathyroids, thyroid and parathyroids, because you have one thyroid, two lobes, and parathyroids, four little glands, two on either side of the thyroid on the back. So talk about these glands being sluggish all the time. And now if probably remembered how this can be connected to the adrenal glands and the pituitary. So it's not just necessarily one gland is out of balance. It could be, more than one, and you have to kind of do a reset, I guess you could say. So you can see some symptoms that might indicate your thyroid or your parathyroids or both are involved. And we can't really forget lymphatic stagnation of these areas, like Colleen mentioned, that you may not have
Totally.
the gland itself weak, there could be some kind of suppression. We talk about lymph stagnation a lot, and this is where acidosis, these wastes, come in and filtering them out. So when we have weight gain listed, and we often associate it with an underfunctioning thyroid, we can also see that, again, it's connected to the adrenal glands as well, because the cortisol produced by your adrenal glands can divert energy away from the thyroid. You don't see that production as efficient as it could be, especially with times of prolonged stress, leads to that HPA dysfunction. And pituitary activity can be slowed, or it can exhaust the adrenals. And you can see that in hyperthyroid conditions. So, and then also with parathyroids, you're looking at the urinary system, but you might urinate excessively. Calcium level, their impact can be seen in heart rate, going a little bit too intensely. You can still get tired easily. You feel more of those aches, and even notice that bone and tissue fragility. I know we emphasize calcium is emphasized for bone health, but think of all the trace minerals that your bones actually need. I think there's like 24 in total. It's not just calcium. So you got to look at the parathyroid. You got to look at how you absorb and actually utilize the nutrients from the foods that you're bringing in. And is your gut clean enough? Is your circulation great? So that's what we're going to look at. Beyond the gland itself being sluggish, with the safe word, I guess, we need to look at your lymph, your GI, and your blood circulation. So let's take a look at a protocol taking all of that into consideration. And what? Did you say feet or teeth?
And how are your teeth?
Oh, okay.
How are your teeth? Calcium, gum health,
yes,
tooth health.
Exactly. Yeah, and yeah, don't forget, that's one thing that's not showing on here is the herbal teeth and gum. Hope I'm not stealing your thunder with that, Colleen. But yeah, think about your teeth are a good way to look at it. Your enamel, your gums, are your teeth loose? That's one thing to consider, is to identify a parathyroid weakness, mineral deficiency, or inefficiency with how you're actually absorbing and utilizing. So getting into it to support these guys, you got the kidney and bladder drain just to facilitate, better filtration and drainage from within the kidneys. You have lymph drainage, gentle or moderate mover. Again, because it's not necessarily the gland itself is weak, it just could be lymphatically suppressed, because there's a lot of, I don't know how many eyes we look at, you and I, we see the stagnation in that throat area around the nodes. So that's something to consider. And also keeping everything moving in your gut and cleaning that out. And then, of course, thyroid support, mostly for hypo conditions, not necessarily to stimulate in a hyper situation. Blood circulation, you have those transport proteins, and your blood circulation needs to be flowing freely to make sure that you are getting those hormones where to the cells that need it the most. And overactive thyroid, as we mentioned, might not want to necessarily go for the thyroid support, at least initially, but support the lymph system and your immune system with the ultimate immune. And then parathyroid imbalance, you could add in the bone and connective tissue tonic. This is a good cellular proliferator, gives that immune support, but also helps it's got a lot of minerals in it. Is that correct, Colleen? Some herbs are very dense.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Yep. I know the mussels by nature is one of them too, but yeah, okay. So, because I know you're going to talk on those a little bit here too.
Yeah, we're going to meet a few. I also just have to say that get your thyroid numbers checked. Check your TSH before you start treating yourself for a thyroid imbalance, because if you're taking too much iodine into your diet, that'll trigger something negatively if you're not 100% sure that you do have a sluggish thyroid. So I did want to just add that in real quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah, if I can comment too on the basal
please.
Temperature, because we kind of talked about that, and I made a mental note to talk about that here on this slide. Thyroid levels checked too, that's definitely worth it. And also the basal temperatures, because we talked about that metabolic rate, your temperature being either too high or too low. That's one indicator. And then, your lab results can help clarify that a bit more. So definitely get those TSH levels, T3, T4, like Colleen was saying. Even have your cortisol looked at. Definitely. Why not? That's one thing we would both recommend. Yep. And
absolutely.
Yeah, don't just supplement. That can weaken a gland too. So don't just start taking things and like iodine or whatnot, like you were saying. It can just weaken it over time.
Yeah.
Yeah. Herbs are balanced. Go for them.
Yeah, that's right. That's okay. Great transition, Jen.
Yeah,
Wow.
didn't try.
Absolutely. So instead of taking an iodine supplement, take kelp. Absolutely. If you're kind of questioning it, if you're finding that your basal temperature is low, right? Is hypo?
Yeah, yep,
Yeah, your
definitely.
basal temperature is low, and you haven't yet spoken with Generi in a consult, and you haven't yet taken your TSH tests from blood tests, then you can try some kelp, try some bladderwrack. These herbs are high in iodine naturally, with a lot of other phytochemistry in them to help balance them out. So iodine is a critical component of the synthesis of thyroid hormones. So we already kind of know this. I don't need to repeat the wheel here, but this is a great supplement, like all natural from the ocean, plus the mineral complex in seaweed is so good for you anyway. So as you can see, kelp is in a lot of Dr. Morse's formulas, all listed here at the bottom. So definitely
Yes,
get your kelp in where you can. And you're probably, if you're already taking some of our formulas, you're probably already taking your kelp. And then
yes.
I also really wanted to talk about some bee propolis, which I wasn't expecting to talk about today, but I've tried to have bees multiple times. It's very difficult. But propolis is a fascinating herb, not an herb. It is a substance that's produced by bees. It's resin-like. It's a material that they use in their hives to patch up holes. It's also really high in antioxidants. And I can say that word because I can target the exact it is flavonoid antioxidants that and that keep this wonderful substance to be so antioxidant rich. And what that's doing for the hive, of course, is protecting it from unwanted organisms, unwanted invaders. It also is really good at regulating temperature within the hive. And it's only in one formula that Dr. Morse has created. It's only in thyroid support. And it's a really incredible herb. I keep calling it herb. I don't really know what to call it. Substance, goo,
I like goo.
resin-like
Goo
material.
works.
Yeah, it smells heavenly. It's brought back to the hive and made by the bees. So that's a really beautiful thing as well, that it's just produced by bees and harvested sustainably, of course. And so high in nutrients, high in vitamins, high in minerals, amino acids. So not only is it, so when you think about that sluggish thyroid, and we've talked about how, hey, how's your nutrient absorption? What bee propolis tincture is doing is it's giving you a huge influx of all those great nutrients that the body needs and that the thyroid needs to function. Just a really healthy mineral complex, vitamins, minerals, nutrients. And so kind of injecting that extra amount into the bloodstream will hopefully help bring even more of what the thyroid needs to it. So it's one of the top ingredients. Those two, kelp and bee propolis, are the two main ingredients in our thyroid support formula. So
Awesome.
that's why it's so great. All right, so on to
Yes.
the next protocol, and we are at
Yep,
time,
we're pushing it
Jen.
for time
Uh-oh.
again. Well, stick with us, guys. There's so much good information. We're almost done, I swear. This is the last protocol and last set of herbs we want to review.
Yeah,
All right,
we'll go
so
quick.
pancreas. Yeah, and blood sugar. I know this is a big topic for a lot of people. So, yeah,
Hmm.
endocrine functions of the pancreas. They make the hormone insulin to regulate your blood sugar levels. Well, what is insulin? That helps the blood sugar enter the cells for energy. Insulin also signals the liver to store blood sugar for later use. So, blood sugar enters the cell, the levels in the bloodstream decrease, and that signals insulin to decrease too. So if you have blood sugar issues, you can see that somewhere in that, in those steps, something is disrupted. So fructose stimulates insulin secretion far less than glucose. That's one reason we, recommend, a high fruit diet in cases when you have blood sugar issues. Excessive fructose, and you can read studies on this, excessive amounts, and it would be a lot, way more than you could probably consume, could be bad. But eating a lot of fruit is nowhere near those levels. And when I say a lot, I would
Hmm.
say that nasty corn syrup stuff, that's what we're talking about, excessive stuff like that. So a
Hmm.
poorly functioning
Absolutely.
pancreas can exhibit, some of those unformed and oily stools. You have that bad fat absorption, get that abdominal discomfort and gas, your absorption of nutrients, enzymes are disrupted, and just, of course, those unmanaged blood glucose levels. So to talk about supporting the pancreas and what a protocol would look like, and again, this isn't customized to your other possibly endocrine system weaknesses. This is taking into consideration definitely the pancreas and how you want to begin supporting that. Look at working with the kidneys and bladder. Hydrate to hydrate the kidneys and help boost filtration. The lymph drainage moderate mover to really break up some of those obstructions in the lymph nodes and get the lymph flowing better. And then, of course, the pancreas support to support those endocrine and exocrine functions of the pancreas. And then the brain and nervous systems, you know, you got those beta cells, and also, you know, supporting the adrenals and that healthy stress and immune response. All of that ties into managing blood sugar levels and also the exocrine portion, digestive portion. But endocrine wise, the brain and nervous system formula also hits on that. Could even add the blood circulation
Mm-hmm.
into, but to really highlight some 4 key formulas, that's where we were going with this in
Yeah.
particular. So, and always monitor your blood sugars, of course, blood pressure. Watch your poo. We can't say that enough. Your poo will tell you a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So watch your poo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we've got brain and nervous system in here, and a lot of the herbs in that formula are parallel to what's in our blood support formula. So that is, or blood circulation formula, excuse me. So that is handy. And
Yes.
again, we're talking about nourishing the endocrine glands, and having healthy pancreatic function is really a big one for ensuring that those nutrients end up in the bloodstream, as we need to properly digest our food in order to do that.
Yes.
So we've got golden seal in our pancreas support formula. It is a bitter. We love the bitters in the pancreas support
Yes.
formula because they stimulate the digestive process. If you don't remember how that works, go check it out in our digestive system webinar. But berberine content, which golden seal is known for, it's in fact over harvested and to the point of extinction in the wild golden seal because it's so wonderful, this berberine content. It's shown to improve cellular response to insulin. So it improves signal transduction when insulin binds. And that's pretty fascinating because most people use golden seal as an immune system herb. It's really good for immunostimulation, but also it's great for supporting the pancreas. And finally, we've got ginkgo, which is a circulatory herb, as we talked about before. The pancreas support formula is stimulating, and ginkgo supports that increased blood flow, right? So that's why we included the pancreas support formula. It's in that one. It's also in our brain and nervous system. It's really good for improved circulation that brings oxygen and nutrients to different parts of the body, including the pancreas. So we love ginkgo. Jen, how do you feel about skipping ahead a
Sure.
little bit
That's
here,
fine.
just
I
to
think we
the
should.
recipes?
Yeah, I think
Great.
that would be fine because a lot of this
So
is
take some
repetitive.
screenshots. We aren't going to.
Yep.
Yes, exactly. So take your screenshots now, or you'll have to revisit the recording of this on YouTube. Check out our YouTube channel and subscribe, please, please. But you can see those there as well. But if you know how to take a screenshot, grab these Zoom balls. Are super tasty and a quick treat when you're on the go. You know, in this high stress life that we all live. They just kind of give you all the adaptogen powders plus a little bit of an energy boost. Of course, this would not be during a fasting protocol or a 100% raw protocol because it does include things like tahini, but it is really incredible for supporting the adrenals as well as just giving you that extra boost. And then we've got, of course, adding adaptogen powders to your smoothie. You can either add an adaptogen powder or you can do 2 droppers full of one of our hormone health formulas. So anything in that category is going to contain a bunch of adaptogens. And then finally, we've got, so take a screenshot of that. And finally, we have a adaptogen golden milk. I love me a golden milk. It's not exactly golden milk season, but it's a turmeric. And of course, any type of milk you want. It could be coconut milk, it could be almond milk, oat milk, I love, and just lots of turmeric to help with supporting healthy inflammatory levels. And of course, you can either add some droppers of adrenal support or endocrine daily, or any of these great adaptogen powders. I love adaptogen powders. I put them in my granolas, I put them in my smoothies, I put them in pancakes. They're just the best. Okay, and so finally, the moment you've been waiting for. Thank you all for joining us. Here is your coupon code. So I'm going to actually drop a link in the chat because we don't actually give you this link otherwise. But this is the link to take you to the bundles page. Let's just do this real quick. It's going to take me a minute. Got to look on the screen here. Paste. All right, so look for that link in the chat and click on that and you will get to the page that has all of these as individual formulas as well as the bundles, which is each of the protocols that we just covered. And the protocols are 10% off, sorry, excuse me, the bundles are 10% off on their own if you were to just buy them. Then you add in the Hormone Health Happy Hormones 20 code and you get an extra 20% off. So you actually get 30% off of the bundles and then 20% off of all of these individual formulas. So we hope that you take advantage of this awesome deal. It's going to be on through Monday, the end of the day. Yay, hormones.
Awesome.
How you doing, Jen?
Yes. I'm good. I'm really good. That's a nice one. Y'all, no excuse. Go get started. And if you have questions,
That's right.
you know how
That's
to
right.
reach our team. Yes,
Yeah, info at
definitely.
dmhhc.com. It was lovely spending my Wednesday with you, Jen, and with all of you
Yes.
out there. We're so grateful to you for joining us for these webinars. Don't forget to go back to our website and sign up for next month's webinar. And by the way, Jen and I do consults now, individual personalized protocols for your health needs. You can go on our just homepage and click the button that says Get Consult, and it'll take you to the consult page and you can sign up. So we'd love to talk to you about your individual health needs, and we look forward to that. And yeah,
Yes.
thanks a lot. Looking forward to the
Yep.
next one.
Thanks, everyone. See you next month.
See you next time.
Bye.